Dunbar Cash Depot, Los Angeles. It's the biggest cash robbery in US history.
20 million almost in 30 minutes. That's impressive.
It's not just the largest in history. It was carried out by a group of friends who'd never committed a robbery before.
None of us in the FBI had ever investigated a robbery of this magnitude.
One of the most perfect crimes of the century.
My name is John McCarran, and I arrived in Los Angeles in 1993 and was initially assigned to a violent gang squad, which was located in the South Central area. LA was like the Wild West in the early 1990s due to the number of robberies and the level of violence.
Police say a bank security guard made the first call that the armed men were inside the branch and that they fired shots.
We have the dubious distinction of being known as the bank robbery capital of the world.
Dunbar Armoured Facility is a cash storage facility, and every major city in the world has at least one of these. LA has several.
Dunbar Armoured Facility is responsible for transporting high volumes of cash and very expensive items across Los Angeles.
Dunbar is one of the most respected, most recognized brands in armored security across the US. And the mastermind for this heist is Alan Pace III.
Every good heist has to have an inside guy who works there.
Pace works as a regional safety inspector at this facility, and
He did not have any type of violent criminal record.
Started out doing some fairly blue-collar type, minimum wage type jobs.
He's only 27 years old.
I don't think his first plan was I'm gonna rob it. When he gets the job, after just working months and months, he sees the routines, he sees the flaws.
every day he is charged with looking after huge amounts of money, but the paycheck that he gets is nowhere near that.
Pace recruits Eugene Hill. Now, Eugene Hill is a muscular guy. He works as security guard. He's also a lifelong friend of Pace. You know, they went to school together. Hill is the person Pace can rely on. Freddie McCrary is a childhood friend of Pace. He has 3 kids. He is a security guard at his local Episcopal church. And on the face of it, a big softie. Yet, Pace manages to persuade him to take part.
Thomas Johnson worked as a bouncer, and he'd previously worked with Hill, and that's how he became a member of this gang.
Terry Brown was interested in music and recording, but probably talked the least of any of them. He was a very quiet, shy.
This gang are amateurs. They're a group of friends, and not working with professionals does carry quite a significant degree of risk, because you never know how you're going to react when you find yourself in the situation as the heist is unfolding.
Is to get the gang into the building via the main entrance and bypass any security cameras. Once they've done that, they need to disarm the security guards by taking their firearms and getting access to the keys, which will allow them to enter the vault prep area and into the main vault where all of the money is stored. Once they've got all of that, they'll load and drive the truck out.
One of the obstacles that Pace comes across in his planning of the heist is one particular fixed security camera. One of the guards who worked at the facility had recently bought a new truck, and he was quite precious about his new truck. He was quite worried about it as well, because this facility was in quite a crime-ridden area.
Alan Pace is a persuasive character, and he capitalizes on this. He is the office prankster. He is the life and soul of the Dunbar depot. Because he is that character, everyone kind of, you know, they trust him.
He convinces a co-worker to basically put that camera on the truck. Just genius.
At 6 a.m. every morning, that vault combination lock is reset with a new combination key. It's created randomly as well.
But Pace has spotted something.
On Friday, there was so much money going in and out in the vault that they don't have time. And this is something that happens a lot when it comes to armored truck guys. They want to do it fast.
This is huge because the vault is very often the last frontier when it comes to armed robbery, and that takes an awful lot of effort in most heists. But they don't even have to think about it in this heist.
Of course, every heist has its curveball, but when Alan Pace is fired.
Essentially, this was due to one of the pranks that he did at work. He removed the headlights from one of the trucks.
How's he going to deal with this? They want his keys back on Monday.
He's faced with, hey, either we have to move now, tonight, or we have to give this up.
He calls the gang, and he says it's on. We need to do it tonight.
It's put up or shut up now or never.
Because a heist is brought forward, the gang are careless.
Eugene Hill then goes and hires the truck.
In his own name.
LA in the 90s is bank robbery capital by day and party central by night. And Pace is able to use this to his advantage because what better alibi than going to a party?
Around 10:30 p.m. that night, they turn up at a girlfriend's house party at Long Beach, around half an hour away.
Pace had calculated that they could get this job done within 30 minutes. If they were to travel from the party, do the job, and then return to the party, that's a time window of around 2 hours. So that's about the most they could get away with in terms of those alibis holding up.
The gang arrives outside the money depot.
The repositioning of the surveillance camera at the front entrance of the Dunbar armored facility was critical. This allowed Pace and the other robbers to enter without being ever seen by the armed security guard.
The gang used Pace's key to get through the door, but disable the locks afterwards so it looks like they were forced.
It's like with any military police operation, they need to control what's happening inside as quickly as possible.
Pace knows that at 12:30 there's a break and a shift change, and that means that outside the vault there'll only be a single security guard to overcome.
The element of surprise has to work in their favor. They have to overpower them as quickly as possible. Going up against security guards that are armed is always going to be dangerous.
Gang have to get to the staff room.
And so this is what they do to overpower a couple of armed guards and 3 members of staff. The adrenaline at this point is going to be super high.
The gang only need the vault room keys, and then they're in.
Pace now has the keys for the vault prep room. This is essentially the main hub of the depot, where millions of dollars is counted and loaded into the vans to be delivered.
They've got just 25 minutes now to get this job done. Pace and the gang don't focus on the sequential bills in the cellophane wrappers. They don't focus on the hundreds. They're interested in the stuff that is non-numbered, so it's harder to trace, easier to spend.
They went to these individual offices and either destroyed or removed the surveillance equipment.
In less than 30 minutes, a group of high school friends got into a high-security cash depot and got out with $19 million in cash.
Alan Pace and the crew are headed back to the party right now.
The only piece of evidence that the police do find is a partial rear tail light cover from some kind of vehicle.
Once the plastic lens was recovered, it was later delivered to the FBI laboratory by myself, and we were then advised that that plastic lens was manufactured specifically to a particular rental truck company.
Being part of the crime, Eugene Hill should have never rented that van.
The way that this heist has been carried out is so clinical, it's so neat that the police assume it must be an inside job. And so they start examining employee records. Based on their knowledge of Alan Pace recently being fired, they know that he is potentially a prime suspect. So the days after this heist, they start immediately observing him. They want to know where he's going, what he's spending his money on, who is he speaking to.
He's able to keep a very low profile. He just goes about his regular life.
Isn't until later down the line they start making big mistakes. You know, Hill, the person who actually rented the van, you know, he does something else that's not that bright.
Eugene Hill, in his attempts to launder the money, gives $100,000 to a contact in order to buy some property. That money, however, still has the cash straps from the Dunbar job on it.
Eugene Hill, he had ratted on all these guys. There's 10 million still out there. That's more so what it was, how he could rat.
Terry Brown, sentenced to 7 years, 8 months. Eugene Hill, 8 years. Thomas Johnson, 10 years, 2 months. Freddie McCrary, 7 years, 5 months. Alan Pace, 24 years.